Okay, so let me try to round this off. If you think of what kind of functionality do you have in an integrated development environment, you have things like jumping to a particular function definition. I showed you that you could do this using the Julia REPL. You have ability to look up relevant help about a function. Again, I showed you how you can do that in the Julia REPL. You have a debugger where you can easily debug through the code, jump back and forth, or at least have easy access to your editor. And again, not as good as the graphical debugger, I admit that, but it's not that bad. And given that this is something that would work over SSH and all sorts of circumstances, I think this is pretty impressive. So what are the other things that you can use or do typically in an integrated development environment? Well, one of the big things is, of course, to manage your project, to add dependencies and so on. And well, we have integrated in Julia the package manager. So that's also something that I think is different for somebody who's coming from a Python background or a Ruby background, where you tend to run a lot of things from the command line. In Julia, you tend to do everything inside the Julia terminal, and you're just switching to different modes. I'm just going to close this down and switch to the shell mode. I'm going to go into a Roman numerals directory. Let's open TextMate again. This is what our TOML file looks like. We're going to be looking a little bit more closely at how that changes as we're adding and removing packages. So if we go into package mode, we can get status. And what you notice now, it's giving me the status for not actually this project, but I'm getting it for the Julia version 1.4 project. It's not actually what I want to. So I want to switch environments, and the way you do that is you use activate, and I want to activate the current directory I'm in. So that's where I'm using a dot. And now you can see here, instead of it shows the current environment being a version 1.4, it says that we're in the Roman numerals package status here. Now it says it's an empty environment. I don't have any packages there. So let's just add some things. Let's say add statistics. So what it shows here is all the other dependencies that get added. So the immediate dependency is statistics, so that's under depths. If we go to manifest, it lists all the different dependencies that are listed here. We can add some more. Let's add plots. We want to be able to do plotting. So that adds a whole bunch of dependencies. So if we go back to projects, you can see the immediate dependencies. There's plots and statistics. Whereas if you go to the manifest, it's everything that you need here. So this shows also exactly where in the Git commit this is. So what this is providing you is reproducibility. If you clone this project for me, then you wouldn't necessarily have all these things installed, right? So what you use then is status. You can get some help from that. Not status. Instantiate. You would just run this one, and it would go through everything that's written here about dependencies, and it will pull down those packages and get those into your environment. Now, maybe I didn't want all of this, so I can just do undo. Now you can see that list gets a lot shorter. You can see this has been updated as well, and maybe I didn't want this one either. Now it's all empty again. This is a pretty nice environment, and I would say that it's actually nicer than most of the IDEs that I used, in that it allows you to download packages, add dependencies in your project, and it makes sure that it keeps track of exactly what version that you're using. It's keeping the SHA-1 of the GitHub commit so that it keeps track of exactly which one you used. If I give these manifest and project TOML files to somebody else, they would be able to get exactly the kind of package versions that I'm using. So I hope that this gave you a little bit of an impression of what it's like working with Julia, and to show you that just with the REPL environment, terminal, and a simple text editor, you can actually accomplish quite a lot. You don't need a fancy graphical user interface. And for those who are interested, I could talk a little bit more about how you use something like TextMate. It's a pretty nice editor. It's not used by a lot of people anymore, but I could do a video explaining a little bit more of what's great about it. Okay, thank you everyone for listening.